In my revision series, I'm going to be talking about spaced practice. This moves on from what I did last time about retrieval practice and how we can use them both together to improve our revision skills. So we're still trying to tackle the forgetting curve. We're still trying to hack the forgetting curve, which essentially tells us that knowledge will be lost over time unless we do something with it. Why do we want to do this? Well, we want to make sure that when we have learned something, we want to keep that knowledge for as long as possible and store it in our long-term memory so that we can access it later very successfully. The basic principle is if you want to keep knowledge for a long time, you need to regularly come back and review and test that material. This is, as I've said, called spaced practice. So what does that look like? On a Monday, that might be a recall test. On a Thursday, that would be a mind map, where we would go over the same material but in a different way. And on a Monday, I might do another test again, retrieval practice. I might do some exam questions related on the same material to see if I understand that material very well. The key idea that this revolves around is the idea that the more actively we are testing and reviewing the knowledge, the longer it's going to take us to forget that knowledge. So we will essentially keep that knowledge for much, much, much longer. It becomes stronger in our brain. If I look at the forgetting curve that we looked at earlier on, but we update it for having some spaced repetition in it, every time we test, the longer we're going to keep that knowledge. So those lines get much shallower. Every time we go back and test, the knowledge gets topped up and we keep that knowledge for much longer. Why don't we just cram? Some people ask this. Lots of students always say cramming works for me. Well, the major issues of cramming is that it leads to cognitive overload. It's essentially like trying to pack all of your belongings into a suitcase. We can't effectively store it very, very well. And it's often stored badly. So that means we can't actually get it out when we want to. We need to be able to make sure that we are effectively storing everything we need. And we need to be able to extract it later. But at the moment, if we cram it, it won't do that very well. It also gives no time for us to actively go back and review the material. And therefore, if we actually cram, we get a very superficial understanding, which is very, very bad for complex subjects. Essentially, cramming is very, very bad for you. You forget more information if you cram. So how would I actually do this spaced practice? It's using similar stuff that we talked in the retrieval practice video. I would use flashcards, I'd use practice papers and questions. If I wanted to do more complex stuff, linking ideas, especially for a subject like geography, which I teach, I would use mind maps. All of those would be very, very good. I talked about how I learned the Green Bay Packers using retrieval practice. I'm now going to add in the next stage, which is spaced practice. So I'm using a variety of methods because if I use more than one method, it means that that knowledge is very, very, very secure in this spaced practice. On the Monday, I did a recall test where I simply just had the 4 things that I needed to find out about the players and wrote down as many as I could as possible, not being afraid to make mistakes. On the Thursday, I do a low stakes flashcards test. So again, I'm testing myself without looking at them. Someone shows me the prompts and then I try and recall it verbally and see how accurate I can. And then Monday, I would do a timed mind map. So try and extract the same information, but by doing it by linking the ideas and categories. And I'm going to do a video on how you can make a great mind map or a concept map in that way. What did I find through doing this? Well, on the first time I did it, in my recall test, 71%, that was 2 days after it. And then there's been a couple more days since that I've been able to forget some information. But because I went back, because that I actually recalled the information by using an active technique, so retrieval practice and space practice, my knowledge actually went up to 89%. So hopefully, if I continue this process, based practice, I will be able to top that knowledge up even more, hopefully get to 100%. And the more I do this, I'm going to be able to keep that knowledge for much, much longer. This is proof that space practice works better than cramming. And I'd like you to have a go at it, try it out with any topic. And I wish you good luck in helping to improve your revision.